What's going on, JEROME homies? Beautiful Thursday, and it's time for another Vikings news dump. He sees you when you're pooping. Good times. Yesterday we put out the Tyreek Hill video. We're just no, and then like 14 minutes of silence. It really rooted out who comments before watching the video. It's funny to me. Something that's not funny, well, actually kind of funny. The Vikings at number 7 overall. Mercifully, it is 7 days until the 2025 NFL Draft. 1 week from today, we will see who the Vikings will add Bay. Something like that. But the Vikings drafted number 7 overall back in 1966. Back in the day. Defensive tackle Jerry Slay Queen from Purdue. 2 seasons, 3 starts, 0 sacks. Moved on, had a decent run with the Falcons and Giants. There you go. 1982, running back Darren Nelson from Stanford. Now, Darren Nelson was going to be the first nouveau age of outside zone running back, receiving running back, triple threat, all that stuff. And I know that it didn't work out, right? And Darren Nelson is probably more famous for the 87 NFC title game drop against Washington, but it is what it is. Also, notably, the Vikings could have had Marcus Allen instead of Darren Nelson. It happens, man. But also, he was famously part of the Herschel Walker trade, which actually was a 3-way trade because the Chargers were involved in there as well. People don't know that, but yeah, Darren Nelson, I feel like a lot of potential there, but ended up only with 4,400 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns during 10 seasons with the Vikings. Actually came back at the end. After the trade. It's funny. 2002, left tackle Bryant McKinnie. That's just a U being the U. So McKinnie was always, he had this God-given ability. He was huge, long arms, rogue raider in the run game, feet like a ballerina. Honestly, you could say that physical attributes-wise, he was Jonathan Ogden. But he just, it seemed, so we talked at length a couple of weeks ago about Matt Khalil, were born with the NFL frame but doesn't love the game. Yeah, McKinney's definitely that. Like McKinney was definitely in love with what the game brought him. Right, but McKinney was a stud, man. 9 seasons with the Vikings, 131 starts, made a Pro Bowl 1 season, eventually won a Super Bowl with the Ravens 2012 because Joe Flacco was elite. He and Matt Burke were on that Ravens offensive line, but just what could have been. Right, 2005, Troy Williamson. So I feel bad for Troy Williamson because, first off, he was way overdrafted. Secondly, this is after the Vikings traded Random Mouse to the Raiders, and they got this pick. They drafted Troy Williamson. He was fast, but he just had massive drop issues. I think he had depth perception issues as well. Because I remember like Nike came in and did like cones and rods testing. Is like, hey, when I think of like eye care, Nike. Yeah, but it just obviously didn't work. 3 seasons, 79 catches, 1,067 yards, 3 touchdowns. I had a season with the Jaguars, but just yeah. Also, people were turned off by Sidney Rice a couple years later in the second round out of South Carolina. Scout the player, not the helmet. Sidney Rice is actually fine. 2007 worked out. So Adrian Peterson, the Vikings going true blue BPA, best player available, because as we said, 2006, Chester Taylor, 1,000 yards, blah blah blah. But Adrian Peterson, I mean, he's one of the best running backs of all time, right? And no matter what you think about him, like he was a huge impact on the Vikings for a number of seasons. He was the franchise. He was the first $100 million running back from back in the day. So there you go. All day. Yeah. So some good, some not so good, and some pretty damn good at number 7 overall. Speaking of pretty damn good, April draft month fundraiser going down. Venmos, Cash App, Super Chats, all donated to the show will go towards Twin Cities and Seoul, South Korea adoption charities and support organizations. We've gone through it. I'm adopted. It's something that needs more support. There's lots of good families who want to adopt. There's lots of amazing kids who want to be part of a family, and it's a long process. The vetting process is long. It's important, but these people need support. So thank you very much, Jerome, for paying it forward. Currently, we're at about 1,600 of our 2,500 goal. I'm sure that'll jump up next week with the draft. So thank you in advance. Also, producer Allie's been crushing it. PurpleFTW.net mugs on sale for the next couple of days. 50% off with the code DRINKUP. So the mugs. Because remember, we used to start videos with a slurp. Maybe we should bring that back. That's right. Also, speaking of slurping. Yeah. There's going to be a couple of beverages next week at historic U.S. Bank Stadium as the Vikings kicking off the Miller Lite Vikings draft party. Josh Metellus, Brian O'Neill, Jonathan Allen, and Aaron Jones are among the players currently scheduled to appear at next week's Miller Lite Vikings draft party. Now, it'd be funny if Josh Metellus is up there getting hyped, doing the skull chant, and then they draft Emenwari, who could be actually wouldn't be his replacement because style wise they're completely different safeties, but kind of funny. Or Jonathan Allen announcing Derek Harmon, or they're probably not gonna take a tackle, probably not gonna take a running back. So there you go. But also it's funny like how they're gonna have to keep this crowd entertained, otherwise there might be a riot if the Vikings trade out of the first round. It is what it is. Like, hey, the Vikings might get a sweetheart deal, move on out. Maybe the Browns, maybe the Giants want to come up from the second round, maybe the Titans. But there's just something about the excitement of the pick. And also, I mean, obviously there's levels of fandom. Like, there's fans that are completely obsessed with the draft, like you and myself. And then there's lots of people who are casuals because so we're going to Easter over the weekend. And my wife's family are all Vikings fans, but they're some are hardcore for sure, but some are definitely just like. So they bring back Darnold, which is great, man. But they just want to pick someone. They just want to holler out some names. So let's get going. Yeah. Next. So speaking of Darnold, I just have this feeling in my bones. My heavily calcium fortified bones, unlike some quarterback. Obviously not rooting for him to fail, but it feels like Sam Darnold might not work out in Seattle. And America's quarterback returns to Minnesota, backup Pro Bowl J.J. McCarthy in the not so distant future. I think this is legit because if you look at the nuts and bolts of Darnold's 3-year contract with the Seahawks, they can get out of it after a year with little to no dead cap outside of the signing bonus. So I think that. I want Darnold to succeed. I think that Seattle is a good market for him. I think that there is some talent there. They definitely need to fix that offensive line. But I don't know. I just don't trust Clint Kubiak. Is that bad? Yeah, but I think that if it doesn't work out for Darnold, I think that he could be back. Because say he lasts 2 years in Seattle. So 2 years down the road, he'll be 29. I mean that's solid range for a good veteran backup quarterback, and obviously he knows the personnel. Obviously he knows JJ. Obviously he knows Coach. So I don't know. Like I feel if I could find a market and get like 16-1 that Darnold is back with the Vikings at some point, I might take it. Or if anyone offers you 10,000-1 on anything, you take it. Yeah, I don't know why Kevin sounds like the Men's Warehouse guy, or God. Just remember Ed Donatel before the Giants playoff game in 2022. You're going to like the way we play defense. I guarantee it. Well, that was an effing lie. Anyways, Kwesi. Wearing a great hat, by the way. Do we have that hat? Yeah. All right, so Kwesi is going to feed the local media jackals today. Probably not saying, wow, this brim is bent. Shoot. I need to hire like a hat organizer. Anyways, but Kwesi's feeding the media jackals today, saying some stuff and some things, but I'm sure that the media is just going to ask him about Aaron Rodgers and his contract. How can you work hard with 1 year left on your Shut up. But so initially out of the gate, Kwesi was too honest, right? And now I feel like he's been in the job for a couple years. He's picked up the Spielmanisms, where Rick Spielman would be a perfect politician. He looks like a congressman, doesn't he? Or a senator, right? And Spielman is very good, and Kwesi's now good at this too, of talking at length and saying a lot, but actually saying nothing at the same time. And sometimes not even answering the question that was asked. I kind of love it. Probably not going to get anything a week from the draft, but we'll see. Actually, we can predict what Kwesi's going to say in his press conference. Well, we're open to all options, drafting a 24 and potentially moving down. I mean, we've done a lot of homework and due diligence, and there's a lot of talented players, and we feel like if we can help our football team, and as players are on their football journey, and we're looking to do that. And my quantitatives, we're doing a lot of work and respect the the work that we've done with Kevin O'Connell, Brian Flores. It is a synergistic pursuit and vertical integration and all of this stuff and things and blah blah blah. Yeah, that's really going to be about it. Yeah. Next. So this is awesome. Vikings, Brian Osama and fellow teammates, Aaron Jones, as well as Jordan Addison, recently ran the trial camp in Ghana for the Ghana national flag football team. So Vikings internationally doing the work, paying it forward. Also, this is very stupid. So remember when they announced the international teams and the Vikings are like Canada and the UK, and it's great. Don't get me wrong. Shout out to our Canada and UK viewers, but Ghana was the Eagles, and it's so frustrating because Brian Asawa is Ghanan, and he's literally in Ghana. Or sorry, Ghanaian. I was corrected on this, but he has Ghanaian heritage. He's running the Ghana national flag football program. Kwesi is Ghanaian heritage, but still just have it be the Eagles. Yeah. Hey, you know who's really big in Ghana? Lane Johnson. It's great times. Sometimes the NFL is very stupid. They need to hire me for these things. Anyways, but big props to Osama Addison and Aaron Jones out there paying it forward. Also, speaking of Vikings, so Vikes fan page on a TikTok live just now, Dalton Risner says Minnesota has shown interest in bringing him back, but only to an extent. Risner said he is in talks with multiple teams and he imagines it'll be to be signed soon. Baloney. As the guy who signed, was it 3 weeks into the season in 2023, and the guy who signed into training camp last year? Okay. Yeah. Soon, yeah. Risner specifically mentioned the Broncos, Vikings, and Bengals. It's really weird, isn't it? Because Risner is fine. Like, he's a decent pass blocking guard. He's starter caliber, yeah. But every single year, it's like Favre contract drama. But yeah. Now, I think what the Vikings could do is that they're going to see what happens in the draft. And frankly, I think that's what the Broncos and Bengals are going to do as well. So if the Vikings come away with a day 1, day 2 guard that they feel comfortable starting, I think that they'll pass on Risner. If the Vikings don't come away with a tier 1 potential starter for this year at guard, I think that they can bring Risner back. And Risner, as we talked about before, most of his starting experience, 4 years with the Broncos, 1 year with the Vikings, has been a left guard. Right? He only played right guard last year because they extended or they brought Brandel back and gave him the job. So I wouldn't mind Risner, Brandel, Rouse, Jurgens all competing for that left guard spot. I mean, competition brings out the best in everyone, right? And I think at minimum he'd be solid veteran depth and just go from there. But it all depends on the draft. Like if the Vikings draft Zabel or Donovan Jackson or Booker or Ratledge or Fairchild. Yeah. Speaking of Donovan Jackson, rap sheet. OSU offensive lineman Donovan Jackson, one of the NFL's most versatile prospects, is visiting the Texans today, source says. Houston picks at 25, and it's rebuilding its offensive line. Most view Jackson as a guard, but he impressed as offensive tackle, stepping in for Josh Simmons last season. Now, the Vikings, so he's visiting the Texans, who drafted 25, and of course the Vikings drafted 24. And I've warmed up to Jackson quite a bit. So initially, I like Booker a little more than Jackson. I feel like Jackson does have some leaning issues, and it gives me like Drew Samia flashbacks. But now they're relatively even. Now Booker is more of a man gap offensive guard, and Jackson from Ohio State obviously is going to be well versed in outside zone. So, given his size, athleticism, his versatility, I think is good. He only gave up 2 sacks last year, and that was the first game he played at left tackle, filling in for Simmons against Penn State. In the playoffs, 3 straight games against high-end competition. Well, Oregon was not high-end competition. But Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, he gave up 1 pressure and 0 sacks. It's pretty damn good for someone who didn't play a ton of left tackle. But, I mean, if the Vikings just had to stick and pick at 24 and took Jackson, I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't really be mad at that. Also, a couple of prospects that I really like. Danny Stutsman. So Pro Football Focus doing up the superlatives, and the number 1 run defense grade of draft-eligible off-ball linebackers is Danny Stutsman, prior to Oklahoma. This is what PFF wrote. Despite some notable deficiencies in coverage, Stutsman excels as a downhill striker in the run game. His ability to quickly diagnose pre and post snap, paired with his talent to stack and shed blockers, resulted in backs being swallowed up before even getting started. Stutsman recorded the lowest average tackle depth, 2.41, of any linebacker in the class, which is good, and racked up 14 tackles for loss or no gain in 2024. He's a TFL machine, and he does give you shades. Like, this is what Brian Boswell was supposed to be. All right. And also, he wears 28 at Oklahoma. So what can go wrong? His game actually does kind of remind you of Ivan Pace Jr. If Pace was 6'2" and 230, consensus All-American in 2024, going to be there in the mid rounds. I think that with the modern game, you have to be able to cover. So I think that's going to ding him a little bit. But Stutsman's just a dude. Like, Stutsman is like one of those hardcore football guys that you just want on your team. I'm down for that. Also down for that, I love O'Donnell Fortune. So O'Donnell Fortune, 6'1", $190, long, lengthy outside corner. PFF man coverage grade 79.5, which is good. While South Carolina primarily ran zone coverage in 2024, the mixed in man looks often enough to evaluate their corners in both settings. Fortune played man coverage on 29.2% of his snaps and held his own when tested. On 13 targets, a man, he allowed 8 catches for $178, but also came away with a pass breakup and interception. The passer rating into his man coverage was a modest 73.4. But he does have the traits. He does have the tools. He's fantastic in zone as well. He and Emin Mori were just patrolling things on the back end for the Gamecocks. And Fortune, projected to be in those mid rounds, and if the Vikings came away with him at some point, I think that would be a great corner option for Brian Flores and company. Lastly, so PFF sleeper prospect at each position: Ashton Gelati on the edge, Vernon Broughton defensive tackle, Sean Dolak at off-ball linebacker, Dorian Strong, hard to break, at cornerback, and Sebastian Castro at safety. Now, Castro does have range, tough as nails, really like him. I think that potentially be a day 3 selection in the mix there. Dorian Strong is a lot of fun, too. So Dorian Strong, I have slightly above O'Donnell Fortune, but we're talking about the same type of player. 6 foot, 179, long physical corner, good hips, 32 tackles, 8 passes broken up, 2 picks last year. Sean Dolak, he is a slot coverage monster. Like, he is the perfect answer to the big slot / move tight end movement. And he's had 90-plus PFF grade last season. And I think he's an uber athletic, modern NFL linebacker. It's going to be interesting where he goes. Vernon Broughton. So Texas had some great defensive linemen, haven't they? Just really getting after things. So Freddie Collins, Vernon Broughton, both of them finally getting some run because they're behind Devondre Sweat and Byron Murphy the second last year. But Broughton, 6'4", 305, quick first step, athletic, press the pocket, 32 pressures, 4 sacks last year. And Ashton Gelati. So we've been yelled at before when we've drafted him, but I just like his game a lot. Yeah, he's 6'3", 264, more of a stand-up outside linebacker, which obviously the Vikings have that in spades, but 89.9 PFF rush grade, 57 pressures in 2024. Undersized, he's got power. Like, pound for pound, can get after things. You can line him up all over the place, although his best spot is probably going to be weak side stand-up outside linebacker. But Gelati is going to be a name to watch. And also, like, after the draft, it's important too. A couple years down the line, as these guys play out the rookie deals, I think they'll find niches, they'll find roles, they'll put up numbers, and all that stuff. And then free agency comes, and I just can't give up my crushes. That's exactly what happens, man. But that's it. That's it. Vikings news dump for this beautiful, glorious Thursday. 1 week to go. Thank you. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.